All right, in our last video, we left off talking about the establishment of the General Education Board that was started by John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon, and Andrew Carnegie Hall. Well, Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon, not Hall. And they created something that I want to talk about now. They created two organizations, but I want you to be educated on the difference between the two, right? They created something called the SEB, which is the Southern Education Board, and the GEB, which is the General Education Board. I want us to understand in this video how they work together, right? So we know about migration. Most of those gangsters from New York, if you really sit down and listen to their story, their families came from the South. Why did their families leave the South is the question, right? Now, we were taught some of these things, but there was something that we weren't taught. We were all taught about the Great Migration in school. They did tell us that. And we see it in movies when we watch Malcolm X and all of those things. And he came up from the South or Midwest. I think he was, I consider Arkansas. Was it Arkansas he was at? Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Wherever he came from, when he got to New York, at least in the movie, he was a train attendant, which would be classified under blue collar, right? We'll get to that in a second. So the Southern Education Board, 1901, and the General Education Board, 1902, were not separate institutions competing for influence. They were precisely engineered to broad strategy. The SEB, the Velvet Glove. So what the Southern Education Board did, they were public relations. They was the marketing, the lobbying, right? Staffed by prestigious Southern white educators. The SEB traveled, they wrote, held conferences, built local enthusiasm for public schooling because they were fellow Southerners. Local populations trusted them. Now, if that was the left hand, the right hand, which is the General Education Board, which I told you in the last video, actually established a charter from the federal government, spearheaded by John D. Rockefeller. He had the money, right? So this is the financial engine. While the SEB won hearts and minds, the GEB, General Election Board, quietly wrote the massive checks, funded school buildings, and paid the salaries of state education officials, literally placing private employees inside government offices. This is no different from what they do today. This is also why I need y'all to understand and watch these type of videos that I do. I know it's not talking about gossip or, entertainment, but they trained us to only be kind of focused on these things. You understand? And there's many of us that have woken up, but I didn't come to save you. I came to save the ignorant. You understand? And when I say ignorant, that is not disrespectful, right? That all ignorant means is I didn't know. I was unaware, right? So there are plenty that don't have knowledge itself. They don't even know why they love evil more than they love good. They just know that it excites them, and they'll find a way to make it a popular and normalize that type of behavior before they ever say, nah, this is no good. No, they'll call you a sucker for not wanting to indulge. They'll call you soft because you don't want to indulge in the harm of your own people. You know it's true. I see it all the time. I don't need to prove myself, right? I get up here, I take the brunt for it because I know I can handle myself, right? So they say, oh, man, but he ain't from the streets there. And these is people that couldn't even walk next to me when I was in the street because they would probably end up in my trunk. Dead ass, wallahi. Right? But we let them go. We let them. So nobody out here could just silence me like I'm impressed by your resume or none of that. We live on earth. right? It's going to be what it is. Fist for fist, knife for knife, gun for gun, words for words. It's whatever. But like I said in my first video, I'm more upset that it was a initiative to turn my people into a violent, savage people when I know that's not who we were. So, the board shared virtually identical trustees. So you had men like George Foster Peabody and Wallace Buttrick. They sat on both boards, meeting as Southern Education Board to craft the policy, and they was the same people to fund it. The initiatives, right? All right, let's keep going. Now, this is where things to me get a little bit interesting. And this is where I want you guys to wake up when you hear like Black Lives Matter. DEI. I see a lot of y'all reacting to certain things. I don't want you to get caught up, right? Yo, let's go boycott Target. These people are using us as token Negro and initiatives. A lot of these initiatives, they need some source of validity, and they don't have it. So let's just take DEI. That had nothing to do with black people, because black people already had affirmative action, right? So we didn't really need a secondary initiative. What we needed them to do was treat everybody equal. We just needed you to treat everybody equal. So if I'm able and willing to do a job and I come for the job, what I'm saying is, don't base it off of my skin color, right? If I can articulate myself, if I could do the job and I prove to you I could do the job, I should be considered for that job. But as we all know, this is the United States of America, and that was not taking place for a long time and still might not be. But let me tell you something about these people. They pretty crafty. So what they'll do, and I have to remind y'all, get out your feelings, because what they're doing is now they don't, because I told you, they don't really love the other side either. It's not that they have a love for white people. You got to understand who they are. They will use whoever to get the job done. So they'll flip this thing over like a sand hourglass, right? And be like, all right, now give all the opportunity to the black people and the Spanish people and everybody else. And, you know, we want to cause tension. So let the white man go without. Now, you could feel, I'm not going to tell you how to feel, because you can be like, say, yeah, fuck him anyway. I'm not telling you how to feel. What I'm telling you is, I know the tactics of the devil. He's a true devil. He will do that. He don't got love for either side, because he's rich and powerful. So he's not really in that world anyway. You got to understand. When it comes to scientific philanthropy, this was a new strategy that a lot of people didn't see coming, and to this day, they still don't see it coming. Before the Southern Education Board and the General Education Board, American charity was localized and reactive. A donated library, a soup kitchen. The Gilded Age capitalists at these roundtable meetings invented something fundamentally different: scientific or venture philanthropy. 1. By influencing government. Directly pay the salaries of state education agents who sit in state capitals and set public education policy. Let me tell you something. Not only did this happen with the we just so happen to be talking about education. This happens across all the industries, and this is why I say don't just be sitting out there focusing on the president when the president is not part of the legislative body. These senators are getting away with literal murder. So what we have to do is open up our eyes. Those senators, they can be in that seat for a lifetime. Understand, they don't have to. They have to run every 6 years. You could vote their ass out. You understand? Now, everybody's just basically just focused on the president. I don't get into too much politics because it seems to be a rigged game either way. So, like I said, the first video, I'm not going to sit there and ask for somebody to change. Oh, please, will you change? Will you change? No, that's insanity to me. I'm just going to move different. This is why I'm doing these type of videos. You understand? And then I have, you know who I hate? And I use that word accurately. I hate sellout black people that come to me and be like, yo, that's why your videos don't get no views. Bitch, nigga, I am up here educating my people. That's why my videos don't get no views. You bitch ass nigga. You's a sellout. But let me calm down. Let me relax. Because those people infuriate me. Because all they care about is money in themselves. Right? And this is the atmosphere that these white elites have created amongst our communities. But let's keep going. Number 2. So they already brought influence in government, and they do that. You can see that with Israel. That's how Israel is winning. Israel went with AIPAC and started buying out all of our politicians. Can you blame them? These is weak motherfuckers who will take the money and say, F America. They don't really care about us, bro. Whether you white or black. Hit the like button, puto. Hit the like button. Hit the hype button. Second, dictate curriculum standards. Now we're going back to the Board of Education now. I want you to understand, when I say that they built the framework for our education system, I want you to understand why our children don't learn shit, because they don't really want us to be intellectual thinkers like that. I promise you. So they choose and they determine what is taught, how it is taught, and what model of schooling is considered modern and efficient. Number 3, control the institutional survival. Decide which colleges live and which are starved of resources. Now, as we go through this series, you will learn of people like Abraham Flexner, who John D. Rockefeller sent out on a mission to report on certain schools just so he could destroy them. If they wasn't with him, then if he dies, he dies. That type of vibe. You understand me? They were shutting down schools. If you on board with us, if you're not, I'm going to write up a report that your school is inadequate and no one is going to pay money to register at your school, and your school will die. And they did. All right, let's keep going. This is education. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. The 50-year Jim Crow compromise in education. This is where things get deep. And the post-Reconstruction. Post, by the way, means after. I'm not saying that to be funny, but a lot of times people are too embarrassed to say, I don't understand what you're saying. So, after Reconstruction in the South, the Southern Education Board and the General Education Board together codified a racial stratified education landscape that would govern black people. So what they're saying is this in basic terms. These two establishments together made certain codes that black people would have to adhere to. Right? And it wasn't always obvious. Whereas it's like, yo, you can't enter into this restaurant, right? Sometimes it was laws like, yo, you can't vote if you can't read. But they know you can't read, so you didn't go to school. So they know, okay, that's like more than half of them right there. They can't read. They know how to work. They don't know how to read. Poor white education first. That's number 1. So this is Reconstruction. So when reconstructing, we have to make sure that there's jobs for who first? For the white population. The Southern Education Board focuses public campaigns on educating the rural, illiterate white population, appeasing the white ruling class as a precondition for any black school funding at all. So before we even get to you, we're going to focus on our white folk first. Number two, the trickle-down theory. Northern philanthropists. The philanthropists, by the way, if you haven't figured out by now, is people that give money. You understand? Gift money, donate money to special interests and groups. So Northern philanthropists argued that once white schools were funded and secure, benefits would naturally flow to the black schools. In practice, that trickle down rarely materializes. Well, it doesn't, right? It hasn't. I hate that theory because it usually doesn't happen. Even when the feds give money to black schools today in this time period, it never usually trickles all the way down to where it's supposed to. For example, if they give $500,000 to a school, somehow there's a board of at least 3 doctorates and they eat up $100,000 a piece. Now you, for some reason, left with $200,000. You understand? And that's what's left going into the school. But then you got to pay after school instructors and leaders and this, that, and the third. And then how much is left for the actual kids and students, right? So that's why I say it don't really trickle down all the time, right? But the point here is that the Northerners were concerned. It was like, all right, man, y'all gotta give some to the black folk now because we need this thing to be balanced because there's going to be civil unrest. That's why they really did. They didn't care about the black folk. It was more about we don't want the civil unrest. The Southern people didn't care either way. Yo, if there's civil unrest, we will handle these niggas and hang them. Fuck you mean you don't want civil unrest? We know how to handle our blacks down here. You understand? And the North is like, yeah, well, dig it. You ain't gonna get this Northern money if we don't compromise. So fuck what you talking about, Jack. You understand? We need to compromise. We need to work together. So you could cool your jets. And they cooled their jets and they worked something out. But it's what they worked out. The industrial vocational tracking. Both boards aggressively promoted manual labor and agricultural training for black students over classical liberal arts. So what this is saying is they did not want no black doctors or lawyers or any of that poppycock. They deliberately designed to keep the black workers tied to the Southern agrarian economy and out of Northern industrial competition. So everything was designed for you to be a worker. Not really, we're not going to teach you how to be a boss so you can be in competition with me or any of these other white folks. You will know your place either way. The transaction, funding schools for disenfranchisement. So this is what it came down to. And obviously, one of my resources, as you guys know, let me try to find my book real quick. I'm sorry. I usually have my book. Here we go. So I have this book, and let me just go here. I have this actual book on audio. I'm gonna leave the link. I'm gonna leave the link in the description box. Everything that I'm talking about now, you can get this book in audio because I know you're not gonna read the book. You don't have time to read this book. So don't even front for your boy. So let's just skip all of that nonsense, right? And let's get straight to you listening to the book. It's 10 hours long. You can listen to it in a matter of a month. You can get through the month just a half an hour a day on the way to work and on the way back. And when I tell you it's going to blow your mind, Jack, it's going to blow your mind. It's called Rockefeller Medicine Men. Medicine and Capitalism in America. It's going to blow your mind, Jack. Right? So let's just get back to this for a second. And I'm going to take some quotes directly from this book. The Southern Education Board and its allies won grudging acceptance of schools for blacks from Southern white supremacist political leaders, and in return, the Northern members of the Southern Education Board campaigned in the North for acceptance of black disenfranchisement and Jim Crow laws as the best way to progress for blacks. So this was a calculated quid pro quo. Quid pro quo means you scratch my back, I scratch yours. In this case, I don't mind teaming up with y'all, but we cannot allow black people to become lawyers and doctors and all that other stuff. We got to keep them as blue collar workers. And then the North said, all right, man, let's make it happen then, right? So Southern white supremacists, politicians fiercely oppose any public funding for black education. So I just want to stop right there because, you get a lot of white ignorant people. You get a lot of you got light-skinned foreign people that come to the United States and they want to blend in with the white folk. They want to be accepted. So they say things that a white person may say, an uneducated white person, not an educated white person, an uneducated white person. That would make them ignorant. They get out here and they get ignorant and proud, and they want to talk like this is the 1901. This is not 1901. You understand? So don't tell me with your chest out that there was no sabotage of the black American. I know why my people look savage and may behave savage. And as I told you before, I will do what I need to do while I'm on this planet to reverse engineer that. I'm not on YouTube for myself or for fucking money. That's not why the universe has me on YouTube. That's not why I have the ability to stay in the algorithm. I use my sorcery so that I can educate people. So shout out to all the people who've been hitting the subscribe button out of nowhere. I wake up, I got new subscribers, and you've been letting me know. You don't even know how you don't even know how good that feel when y'all start watching shit that I didn't even think y'all would be interested in, and y'all be like, yo, another great video. And it be some shit I did a long time ago. I'm like, oh, they tapping in with your boy. I appreciate you. I do. It's a lot of hard work. I do. So, the Southern white supremacist politicians fiercely oppose any public funding for black education. To secure even bare minimum vocational schools, the northern members of the Southern Education Board made a devastating concession. They agreed to politically abandon black Americans in the North, actively using their media, political, and cultural influence to legitimize Southern disenfranchisement and Jim Crow segregation. Now let me look at you in the face. Now you're starting to see why I don't want to glorify no pimps, no pushers, no rapists, no none of that. I don't care how good their outfit is. I don't care how much money they had back in the days. No, none of that, Jack. Because it was a strategy and tactic that forced us to take advantage of what we're going to find out later. They put, first of all, out here sabotaging jobs, loans. Even if we want to vote for somebody, you sabotaging everything. And then one day, early 80s, you put drugs in the community and we start selling it to each other, making a little bit of money. I understand how we turned into the savages we are. I totally understand. People say, yeah, just because they put it there, you didn't have to do that. Well, I think that's ignorant for you to say. You know why? Because they weren't sabotaging white people in this country. Now you may feel like they sabotaging white people in this country. Because probably they are. Because you didn't take my heat that they don't care about you either. So now we hear that the white man is frustrated because he can't find work. Yeah. I told you not to trust Diablo. And don't expect me to tell my people to feel sorry for anybody. Because I'm going to tell you right goddamn now, nobody felt sorry for us. I don't care about your sympathy. I'm judging you off your actions. Right? But I want us to look at something. It says down here, they actively use their media. They use that today. Right? What do you think radio repeating these vicious songs that was signed off by a white CEO to keep playing? It's the black entertainer. And he said, no, that's what he wants to sing. No, that's what you signed. You wasn't going to sign him unless he sung these ridiculous lyrics as Saigon. Because Saigon can rap. But Saigon at some point said, yo, man, I don't want to do that, man. I've been through the prison system. Saigon got a book out. If you never read his book, read his book. So he been all through the group homes. He been all through the streets of Brooklyn. He been all through up the streets of Spring Valley. You understand? All through the jails up north. He comes out with the resume to call himself the Yard Father. Right? But then, even when he's doing his thing and beating people up and all that, when he really sit down and think about it as he's evolving, he's like, yo, I got kids now. Like, I made it out. And I don't want to just rap poison to my people, bro. But that's what they use their medias for. To show Jamal at 6 o'clock in the morning, out here in the Nike techie suit, robbing and stealing. Right? And then they're going to remind people at 6 o'clock in the evening. It ain't no news that the black man don't make it to. As if white people don't do crime. And this is not a white against black. What I'm saying is it's purposely projected that white people are ruining the United States. When in fact, I want you to understand. And this is why I didn't give a shit about Charlie Kirk. And in all honesty, fuck Charlie Kirk. Those apples, right? I don't care. You know why I say that? He was showing up to colleges, gaslighting them, talking about the statistics of black. Motherfucker, tell them about how we was sabotaged first. You got to tell them that before you get to where we are now. Anyway, we not done. I know I'm getting a little bit aggravated, and I would have loved to not done this without any profanity, right? But I didn't. So we are where we are. However, check this out. We're gonna come back with the next video. Hit the like button. Send it to somebody, and hit that hype button, man, because this is about education. This is about education. I want y'all to be educated. I want y'all to be equipped with the knowledge, and the more of us that have the knowledge, even though we are conditioned, it ain't going to leave us with one video. It ain't going to leave us with two videos. But over time, we're going to start to spare that next one, right? When we know we could just duff them out, you spare for right now. You understand? Because you don't have knowledge yourself. Go subscribe to Jamel Saladin or something, son. You don't got knowledge yourself. And we could have pounded you out here, but you don't have knowledge yourself. We're going to spare you on that one. Hit the hype button. Holla at your boy. Peace out.